Increasing cases of rape and gender-based violence, President Buhari summons Inspector General of Police.
It is a very serious offense. It is very wicked of an individual to engage in rape or defilement.
Why is government spending huge sums despite privatization? A Senate committee queries as Finance Minister explains power sector recovery plan.
You are responsible for protecting yourself, your family, and the community and the country. We went further to say that gatherings are still not okay.
Don't reopen schools now. Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 cautions state governments. Plus, more than 500 illegal miners fall into surveillance task force net in Ondo State. Good evening and a warm welcome to NTA Network News tonight. I am NNAEMEKA Abodike. Reading with me is Jingino John Adams in Lagos and Kemi Oshin in Ibadan. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has made a passionate appeal to Nigerians to promptly report cases of rape and gender-based violence in the country as part of their contributions towards putting an end to the dreaded scourge. This was while addressing newsmen after being summoned by President Muhammadu Buhari over the worrisome situation across the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
Although rape is not a new phenomenon in Nigeria's crime history, but the alarming increase in cases of the dreaded scourge in recent times, especially during the COVID-19 lockdown, leaves much to be desired.
The Nigerian police so far from January 2020 till May 2020 recorded about 717 rape incidents that were reported across the country. 799 suspects were so far arrested, with 631 cases conclusively investigated and charged to court. And we have 52 cases that are remaining under investigation.
And this worrisome development informed IGP Mohammed Adamu's summon by President Muhammadu Buhari for briefing. The meeting is a follow-up to the resolution by the Federal Executive Council to do whatever it takes towards stopping the heinous acts and bringing perpetrators to justice. Details of their discussions held behind closed doors were not made public, but the IGP, joined by the Ministers of Information and Women Affairs, told newsmen that the Nigeria Police is prepared to collaborate more effectively with other security agencies and NGOs towards ensuring that cases of rape and gender-based violence are dealt with appropriately.
Just to tell you that government is doing something seriously to curtail this type of offense. I will call on every Nigerian that has or comes across any victim of sexual offenses, of rape or gender-based violence to quickly report to law enforcement agents, because keeping it without reporting it will give room for the perpetrators to continue to commit the offenses. It is a very serious offense. It is very wicked of an individual to engage in rape or defilement. Some are doing it for ritual purposes. Some are doing it because they sit within the family and they see the victims and they feel the urge to go into it and do it. But such people should not be allowed to go scot-free.
He expressed formal appreciation to NGOs and civil society organizations that have the capacity to deal with such offenses for supporting law enforcement agencies in the area of capacity building to effectively manage victims of rape and gender-based violence in Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now, the Senate is worried that after the privatization of the power sector, the federal government still spends huge sums of money on the private entities. This was the reaction of the Senate Committee on Power to the presentation by the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, on the Power Sector Recovery Plan. Ignatius Unko tells us more.
The Senate at plenary mandated its Committee on Power to meet with relevant stakeholders and find out actualities of federal government spending in the power sector and its impact. The public hearing commenced with the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, making the lead presentation on federal government's financial involvement in the power sector. She explained that the federal government is currently working with some development partners to expand Nigeria's power infrastructure. These include Power Sector Recovery Plan for results with the World Bank to the tune of $750 million.
The first part of the PSRP has recently been negotiated and expected to commence implementation once all necessary negotiations and procedures have been met.
And therefore, we were privatized. The only thing we owe to these privatized public enterprises will be whatever we sign in the share purchase agreement. Nothing more.
The committee observed that while pre-privatization liabilities should be federal government's concern, all post-privatization liabilities should be handled by the private entities.
The federal government has injected over 1.5 trillion in form of intervention fund to support the power sector, especially in areas of tariff shortfalls. This has not crystallized into any meaningful improvement in power supply as expected.
At another public hearing, the Senate Committee on Science and Technology advised the Accountant General of the Federation to ensure the remittance of statutory funds to the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure.
The concept is that the Senate should be the agency that will propel Nigeria into industrialized economy.
The committee demands that the government agencies be treated equally and requests that Nasani be given its statutory funding henceforth.
I have not seen any administrative correspondence via my ministry, which should come from the Ministry of Science and Tech to my ministry, and that should be minuted to me, and that will reject action.
This is part of the committee's resolve to strengthen agencies under it. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unko, NTA News.
Towards achieving an effective implementation for the development of the Lake Chad region, a national steering committee has been inaugurated by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Management, Sadia Umar Farouk. This is for the restructuring of the multi-sectoral crisis recovery project, which is being overseen by the Northeast Development Commission. Ruth Aguela reports.
In response to the challenges faced by the Northeast and President Muhammadu Buhari's plan in rebuilding the region, the federal government have allocated funds secured from the World Bank for the multi-sectoral crisis recovery project and the Lake Chad Region Recovery and Development Project, aimed at rehabilitating and improving the livelihood of conflict and displaced communities in the region. As part of its functions in overseeing the success of the project, the Northeast Development Commission is buoyed up by capacity, with a new National Steering Committee being inaugurated by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development.
The NCRP PROLAC AF was approved by the World Bank Board on the 26th of May 2020 as an additional financing for MCRP to the tune of $176 million, bringing the project portfolio to $376 million. The MCRP PROLAC will make great strides towards achieving its objectives.
Just as Nigeria joins Cameroon, Niger and Chad in the World Bank Regional Project for the Lake Chad, the core function of the National Steering Committee is to provide oversight, strategic guidance for the success of the project.
We need to ensure that all of we maximize the use of these very scarce resources diligently and ensure that it reaches and touches the lives of the people of the Northeast that have been so greatly impacted by multiple disasters.
I will ensure that the work plan presented by each state is effectively implemented.
The goal here is to ensure enhanced recovery of the Lake Chad region through a well-coordinated and improved capacity. In Abuja, Ruth Aguele, NTA News.
The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has flagged off distribution of food items to the internally displaced persons camps in Niger State with a call on them to engage in economic activities. Dauda Mohammed reports that Niger State is currently operating 5 internally displaced persons camps.
These women and children are among the 511 displaced persons from Kauri village of Shiruru local government area taking refuge in the Gwada camp set up for internally displaced persons after armed bandits attacked their community. The distribution of food items by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has given the displaced persons renewed hope and conviction that their plight will soon be over. Items distributed include bags of millet, rice, maize flour, beans and vegetable oil, tomato paste, sugar as well as salt.
Tell the government that we thank them for this gesture, but we want government to help us go back to our homes.
Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Senator Bashir Garba Mohammed, whose speech was read by Jelani Inwa, called on displaced persons to engage in economic activities.
We encourage the IDPs to learn different vocations, and many of them are already doing very well in their new businesses.
Assistance like this from relevant federal government agencies to the internally displaced persons across the country not only ameliorates their sufferings, but gives them a sense of belonging and the hope that soon their sufferings will be over. Dauda Mohammed, NTA News.
To other matters now, over 500 illegal miners have been arrested by the Special Mines Surveillance Task Force of the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development for illegal mining operations in Ondo State. Olubukola Aduwo reports that the site was discovered at Ile Oluji in Okeibo local government area of the state.
It was an Herculean task getting to the hideout where the illegal mining operations, which the surveillance team described as an act of economic sabotage, are being carried out. This is Popola, a small community in Ile Oluji local government area of Ondo State, where illegal mining activities have been going on for a very long time, without regard to the negative environmental implications, ecological disturbances, and loss of revenue to government. Unknown to them, the young men allegedly engaged for the illegal business were caught while digging out the Mother Earth in search of what is suspected to be gold. Realizing that the game was up, the young men took to their heels, but some were unlucky. Although it was not certain if the suspects were working for someone or otherwise, the mines officer, Silas Godwin, who led the team, said activities of illegal mining operations are causing environmental degradation, economic loss, damage to human health, among others, calling on such individuals to register as legal miners.
Well, anybody that wants to go into mining, they know that it must be backed by due process. So, as I speak with you now, I don't think this is due process driven.
At the end of the exercise, not less than 20 illegal miners were arrested and handed over to the police for further investigations and prosecution. In Akure, Olubukola Aduwo, NTA News.
Broadcasting is dynamic, so are the challenges regulating the industry. Acting Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, Dr. Armstrong Edachaba said this while stating the federal government's stance on the proposed amendment of the nation's 6th Broadcasting Code. Adebola Brusklin Sunday has the details.
The Commission is responding to mixed reactions by players in the industry to the release of the amendment to the 6th edition of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code. Professor Armstrong Idachaba says they are considered healthy for the development of the broadcast industry in Nigeria.
You have a product that is highly valuable and you are agreeing to share. to sub-license, and you come to a peaceful agreement where everybody is happy. Of course, the NDC will have no role to play. It's a simple business market decision.
Professor Idachaba told newsmen that the current amendment is aimed at making the industry more responsive to emerging realities in the broadcast ecosystem.
Consciously evolve a broadcast policy that will include our own people and give them space not only to participate, but also to grow, and also fundamentally to create avenues for revenue generation, even for the people you call the small players.
The NBC acting DG said the board and management of the commission is extensively looking at all concerns and observations raised with a view to producing a regulation that will be in the best interest of the nation. The first code was issued in 1993 and the sixth, being amended, was published 4 years ago. The code represents the minimum standard for broadcasting in Nigeria, which shall be applied in accordance with professional ideals of broadcasting. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
We pause for some messages. The news continues after this timeout. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has warned state governments against reopening schools contrary to its guidelines, saying it would be premature to do so amidst the raging COVID-19 pandemic. Chairman of the task force, Boss Mustafa, gave this warning at Monday's briefing in Abuja, urged all Nigerians to consider themselves henceforth as frontliners in the fight against COVID-19. But Tyre Ben reports.
As the nation's health authorities battle to flatten the curve of COVID-19 community transmission, the Presidential Task Force observes that efforts are being undermined by continued breach of its guidelines and protocols on personal hygiene and social distancing.
Lifted restrictions does not mean carelessness and that life is back to normal. We have received reports that some states are contemplating the opening of schools, television viewing centers, sports stadium, and other places where large gatherings could take place. The Presidential Task Force re-emphasizes that it is not yet safe to do so.
The case fatality rate remains at about 3%, which is lower than many countries, but not a cause for relief.
That a supermarket in Abuja decides to do a concert doesn't make it compulsory for people to attend.
The task force emphasized that private sector donations are managed privately and not by the PTF.
We then have a special intervention fund. That special intervention fund, as approved by Mr. President, is specifically for the purpose of COVID-19. We have only spent 0.02% of that. Most of it went towards the evacuation, towards the accommodation of Nigerians that were brought in the last few weeks.
It also announced the resumption of evacuation of Nigerians abroad with strict adherence to the revised protocols, which include compulsory pre-boarding tests for intending evacuees.
The capacity that we're looking at is for 500 people a week for Lagos, 500 in Abuja.
WHO country representative said the global health body was misconstrued on whether asymptomatic patients are contagious or not.
We need more research to estimate the extent of asymptomatic transmission.
Meanwhile, the PTF says a 3-year health sector COVID-19 response plan is being developed by the Federal Ministry of Health as a roadmap for the years ahead. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikbeng, NTA News.
Global cases of coronavirus surpass 8 million as Indian journalists are targeted during lockdown. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday is here with the updates on COVID-19.
The World Health Organization and United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, have warned that the coronavirus pandemic will lead to the death of an additional 51,000 under 5s in the Middle East and North Africa by the end of the year. The UN agency said the disruption of essential health and nutritional services is now a risk factor in the regions. And the Rights and Risk Analysis Group said at least 55 journalists have either faced arrests, physical assaults, alleged destruction of properties, or threats to life for reporting on the coronavirus crisis during India's lockdown. The group said India has become the riskiest place for journalists in the world, as India states and political activists allege that journalists acted prejudicial to maintenance of harmony and the national integrity, sovereignty, and security of India. Data on the COVID-19 dashboard of Worldometer at about 7 p.m. show that 8,054,598 persons have been infected with coronavirus globally. 436,799 deaths recorded, while 4,155,506 people have recovered from the deadly virus. Out of this figure, Africa recorded 242,105 cases, 6,464 deaths, and 109,977 recoveries. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has reported a total of 16,085 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country, 420 deaths, and 5,220 recoveries. I am Adebola Brookslyn Sunday. Thanks for your time.
The House of Representatives has urged Nigerians not to let down their guards as the fight against the spread of coronavirus disease is far from over, in spite of low figures recorded so far on the African continent. Chairman of the House Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19, Representative Haruna Mshelia, during an interaction with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, says there are emerging situations in some parts of the world that still call for caution. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The House Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 was set up to engage the PTF and other stakeholders towards ensuring that the legislature makes needed inputs by way of legislative intervention for effective containment and management of the pandemic in the country. Representative Haruna Mshelia drew attention of the stakeholders to the fact that the House is concerned about the economic and health impact of the pandemic, stressing that the Infectious Diseases Bill being considered at the House is meant to strengthen NCDC and the country's health system.
Even the working environment which I mentioned, the Speaker said the frontline workers should have proper environment to work in, they should be protected, and they should have the equipment. All that have been taken care of in the budget, Mr. Chairman.
Members of the Presidential Task Force gave more insights on the state of things concerning the pandemic.
So we have expanded our horizon of risk communication and deepening the collaborative effort with the community leaders, civil society, faith-based organizations, and traditional rulership to ensure that this is attained.
The meeting agreed that post-COVID-19 intervention should be a priority at all levels of policy making. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika has suspended the operation of executive jet services and the pilot that flew popular entertainer Naira Marley for a concert in Abuja last Saturday. Emmanuel Ayimiro reports that the suspension follows the breach of approval for the private jet to convey Justice Adefope Okojie on the return flight from Lagos to Abuja on a later date, but was fraudulently used.
Briefing journalists at the Presidential Task Force in Abuja to clear the air concerning the breach of approval, the Aviation Minister said the details of the letter by the Executive Jet Services was for an approval for essential services which the judiciary applied for and not to convey Naira Marley.
The document also that we give the control tower for approval is also here. The operation is a clear violation of our approval, to which we take very seriously. So Executive Air Services operations are hereby suspended indefinitely. We will also fine them maximally according to the law. The captain of the flight will also be sanctioned for giving wrong information to the control tower.
Surika was quick to advise the public that the approval for essential flights is only in accordance with PTF COVID-19 protocols and that government will not condone actions that undermine national interests.
We will put up mechanisms in place or escalate the mechanisms that we have in place to deter people from doing so, and it also means there will be stricter in our approvals, and whoever dared us will meet the consequences.
Meanwhile, Jabi Lake Mall, the venue of the concert in Abuja, has since been sealed off by the FCT task force. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
And in response to the impact of COVID-19 on health, livelihoods, businesses and jobs, a memorandum of understanding to avert job losses, promote enterprises and decent job creation has been signed by representatives of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association and the organized labor to boost productivity. Again, Emmanuel Ayemiro witnessed the signing of the MOU held in Abuja.
Going by the International Labour Organization estimates in April this year, about 1.6 billion workers in informal sector and 195 million in formal economy globally will be at risk of having their livelihoods destroyed due to coronavirus pandemic. This necessitated the coming together of social partners towards developing a shared perspective at mitigating the impact of the pandemic.
We have therefore agreed to work together, having identified the various roles we have to play to ensure a sustainable post-19 economy and job security for the mutual benefit of all.
It is very necessary, and that's why we have come together to sign a peace agreement that even if people are going to lose their job, it's going to be on reasonable ground.
Labour, in appreciation of government's effort at containing the spread of coronavirus, wants issues of insecurity in parts of the country to be addressed so as not to be robbed of the gains already recorded in the past.
Given the need to boost productivity and economic growth, at this time, we will continue to work with NNAEMEKA to put pressure on government to provide businesses with palliative, grants, and physical support initiatives, including downward review of taxes and interest rates, in order to give businesses the breathing space to maintain production.
Both employers and workers' representatives pledge to imbibe the principles of social dialogue in addressing issues of industrial relations to boost economic activities across the nation. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
The Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions says it will begin to beam its searchlight on allegations of job racketeering in federal government organizations. Chairman of the committee, Senator Ayo Akiyelure, stated this while briefing Senate correspondents on the resolve of the 9th Senate to give listening ear to Nigerians who cannot afford litigation in the court.
Today, the general belief is that if you don't know anybody, you can't get a job. We want to tell everybody now today through this medium that under the present Senate, led by Senator Ahmed Lawan, he has given encouragement to this committee to go all out and do thorough full-scale investigation where there are information for us to work to ensure that all these problems are checked and never come back again. This system is fraught with a lot of fraudulent acts by some perpetrators who have given the same to form them to be a syndicate. They take money from innocent Nigerians, graduates, they issue them fake letter of employment, and when they get to the ministry, they are never documented.
More reports as we join Hengino in Lagos.
Hello, Kene. Thanks for joining us in Lagos. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reiterated the commitment of his administration to massively invest in quality education during the COVID-19 period. This is with the aim of improving e-learning and guarantee a brighter future for the younger generation. Nosa Osula has details.
Schools across the world are getting creative with online options to keep students safe and healthy at home. This, according to residents, is a welcome development as it gives pupils and students who may be new to virtual teaching and learning to acquaint themselves with same.
In advanced countries, that is the essence of open university, or what we call distant learning. So it has been part and parcel of the education system globally. So for that we are also catching up on it, I think it's a credit.
With schools still shut across the state due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu explained that government is deploying devices that would be useful to keep school children busy and focused on their studies, while stakeholders in the education sector meet to agree on protocols for reopening of schools.
We need to aggressively improve the quality, the learning outcomes of our education, but we needed to do it using technologies as a strong enabler for that to happen.
The governor assured residents that the state government would spare no effort to improve the learning and teaching environment in schools across the state. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
And the Nigerian Air Force has unveiled a cenotaph in memory of Reverend Sister Henrietta Aloka, who died while evacuating students at the Bethlehem Girls College in Abuja pipeline gas explosion. Ken Egbeluge completes the story.
On March 15, 2020, a heart-wrenching incident occurred and will forever be remembered by Nigerians and students of Bethlehem Girls College, Abuja. On that day, the administrator of the school, Reverend Sister Henrietta Aluka, met her untimely death as a result of pipeline gas explosion that rocked Abuja area of the state. After successfully rescuing the student from the inferno, she lost her life in the process as it was too late to save herself. For her heroic act, the Nigerian Air Force decided to immortalize her by naming a hall at the Air Force Secondary School, Chasha, after her.
I am convinced that the story of her heroic act on that fateful day will continue to light a path for the younger generations and the ones yet to come on the value of selfless service to humanity.
By her action, she exemplified the good shepherd who put the protection and safety of her flock well above her personal considerations.
We hope that this will be a lesson for others, that when we lead, that we should be ready to make sacrifice for our lead.
Until her demise, Reverend Sister Henrietta Aluka was a beloved teacher and principal of Bethlehem Girls College in Lagos. Ken Igbeluge, NTA News.
That's it from here. We'll now take a break. The news continues after that.
Thank you for staying with us. Stock markets across the globe bleed this Monday as investors struggle with signs of a second wave of coronavirus cases. Details and more on business news with Moplang Dakok. Hello, Moplang. It's over to you.
Thank you, Kene. On business news, 1.689 billion naira has been received as COVID-19 eradication support donations through designated commercial bank accounts and the CBN accounts from 1st April to 31st May 2020. The details of 792.1 million naira received from 1st April to 8 May 2020 had earlier been made public. This is contained in a public notice on the details of the donation signed by the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris. Recall that the federal government, through the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, opened commercial bank accounts in addition to the CBN TSA account, through which donations to support the eradication of COVID-19 in Nigeria could be made to ensure effective and efficient coordination and management of the funds. Economies globally are just bouncing back following the outbreak of COVID-19, where restrictions and loss of jobs have weakened various sectors of the economy. As the economic environment picks up in Nigeria, a professor of agriculture, Olu Makinde, emphasizes that agriculture can conveniently revive the economy by gainfully engaging the populace, and it cannot be overemphasized. talking stocks, following the daily rise in coronavirus cases reported in some parts of the United States and Asia, stocks pointed to more losses this Monday. The market in Nigeria also was affected as trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange began the week negative, with investors losing 119.16 billion naira. The NSE All Share Index depreciated by 0.91% to close at 24,954.25 basis points. Market capitalization dropped to 13.017 trillion naira. Investors exchanged 237.6 million shares in 4,808 deals valued at 1.6 billion naira. Transaction in the shares of FBNH, Zenith Bank and FCMB led activity chart for the day. Red Starex, Fitson and UBA were the top price gainers, while MTN Nigeria, Boa Cement and Zenith Bank led price gainers from the rear. And that's it on Business Express. Sorry about the mix-up in the videos earlier. Kene, it's back to you.
Thank you, Muplang. Let's tell you that President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of NNAEMEKA EWELUKWA as the new Managing Director of Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company. Dr. EWELUKWA, who until his appointment was the company General Counsel and Secretary, is to take over from Marilyn Amobi, who is to proceed on terminal leave immediately. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is celebrated on the 15th of June to provide an opportunity for communities around the world to promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older persons by raising awareness on the cultural, social, economic and demographic processes affecting elder abuse and neglect. Basiri Taiban in this report takes a look at this year's celebration in the face of COVID-19 as the older persons are said to be more vulnerable.
Statistics from the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse shows that the population of the old persons worldwide may increase from 12.3% in 2018 to 21.5% in 2050, with Africa having a fourfold increase. Majority of them are said to suffer several degrees of neglect and abuse from being branded witches with peculiar health challenges.
It's only a few people that enjoy their life when they are old.
To reverse this case is the reason for the annual celebration of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
Age is a matter of process, and anyone that respects an old person prays to the old.
Now, let's look at the theme for this year's celebration: lifting up voices to justify elder justice and violence against women.
Everybody, from family, individuals, communities, particularly governments, should arise and pay attention.
Please, let's try to help the elderly ones.
As the world marks this day, the UN Secretary General wants the world to work together to optimize living conditions for older persons and enable them to make the greatest possible contribution to our world. Basi Taikman, NTA News.
Now, socio-economic activities have continued to thrive in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, and liberated local government areas, owing to extraordinary commitment of the state governor, Babagana Umar Zulum, and the renewed gallantry of the Nigerian military in counterinsurgency operations. Maimuna Garibara examines efforts being put towards ensuring residents enjoy a lasting peace.
Residents of Maiduguri are appreciative of Governor Zulum's commitment in strengthening security, restoration of peace, and effort he has made towards ending the decade-long insurgency, saying his coming is a blessing to the state as they now have a renewed hope in life.
The impression created by his administration in 1 year is something commendable.
And he's the only government that I've seen that has made effort going to local government, even staying there, because he has the masses at heart. So we are to support him, but he can't do this thing alone.
The Professor Babagana Umar Zulum-led APC government in Borno State started on the premise of 10-point development agenda, in which security and concern for the IDPs topped the agenda. Upon assumption of office, the governor has been working hard towards finding lasting solution to the lingering security challenges, where he made it a priority to entrench civil authorities at the grassroots. In a rare commitment to see to the end of the crisis, Professor Zulum has met the president several times and the service chiefs, seeking support to dismantle the terrorists and restore peace to the state. He equally went further and hosted retired generals and other retired top security personnel from Borno to a strategic meeting aimed at finding ways to address challenges of insecurity, and subsequently launched a rapid response squad to stem the wave of attacks on highways and other vulnerable areas. The governor personally assessed security situation in the state as he visited communities attacked by insurgents and reassured them of government commitment and that of the military in routing the insurgents. While supporting troops on the front line, Professor Babagana has presented 300 patrol vehicles and equipment to the military and other security agencies to enhance their operations.
I wish to also express my gratitude to our chief host, the executive governor, Borno State. We thank you most sincerely for all your support to the Nigerian Army at all times.
Strengthening of the civilian JTF and hunters is another area Governor Zulum showed concern to help complement effort of the military in the restoration of lasting peace to the state.
We are firm in our resolute and commitment to safeguard the security of lives and properties of our people.
Professor Babagana Umara's move within his first year in office shows his resilience and commitment towards security and betterment of Borno, an effort which has earned him accolades from reputable individuals and from various facets of life. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
Time now to join Kemi in Ibadan for more reports.
Thank you, Kene, and welcome to Ibadan. Oyo State government has reviewed measures put in place to contain the spread of COVID-19 ahead of civil servants' scheduled resumption to work by Monday next week, and that of examination classes by the end of June. Rofia Animashan Badmos reports that the state is creating more testing centers as 507 cases have been recorded so far.
There has been a crazy spread of COVID-19 in Oyo State in the past few days. The increase in number of infection could be that people are living ignorantly in denial of the prevalence of coronavirus. I have here with me the incident manager, Oyo State Task Force team, Dr. Taiwo Ladipo. Dr. Ladipo, what could be the cause of the increasing spread of coronavirus in Oyo State, and what is the state government doing to this?
We have started the community testing in 10 different localities across the state, and we've been able to see that about 1 in 10 of our people are actually positive for the virus. These are still early times, but those are the figures that we have. And because of that, to your next question, that what is the government doing? And that is one of the things that governments have done. Government have been able to put up those testing centers, and we're looking at perhaps another expansion to the 33 LGAs as time goes on. The state has been able to put in resources to ensure that there are isolation facilities across the state.
People with COVID-19 symptoms have been urged to go for tests for prompt treatment. From Ibadan, Rofia Animashan Badmos.
And that does it from Ibadan. It's back to Kene for more on Network News.
Thank you, Kemi. Lagosians are yet to overcome the shock over the sudden death of the senator representing Lagos East Senatorial District, Adebayo Sikiru Oshinawa, who died at the age of 64. Annie Daniels visited the residence of the deceased and now reports.
When NTN News crew arrived at the residence of late Senator Bayo Sikiru Oshinawa, few people were seen outside the premises. They include 2 close relatives of the deceased. They expressed shock at the sudden demise of late Senator Oshinawa.
It's somebody that called me that, are you sure you didn't hear about your brother? I say, which one? Say Senator Oshinawa. I say, what happened to him? The person told me that he's dead though.
Oshino is 1 in a million man.
is a man that a lot of politicians will miss.
Popularly called Peperito, Senator Shinowa was a 4-term member of the Lagos State House of Assembly before proceeding to the National Assembly, representing Lagos East Senatorial District in February 2019 till his death. Senator Shinowa began his political career in the Second Republic, serving as a youth chairman of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, under the leadership of late Bashorun Moshood Abiola. In 2003, he contested to represent Koshefe local government area in the Lagos State House of Assembly. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari offers deepest condolences to the family of Shinowa and the Senate on the death of Senator Sikiru Adebayo Shinowa, the senator representing Lagos East Senatorial District. As a member of the 9th Senate and a key member of the All Progressives Congress, President Buhari recounts that Senator Shinowa, as chairman of Senate Committee on Industry and a member of other committees, worked diligently to advance this administration's objective of building a better and prosperous Nigeria. The president affirms that the senator's commitment to meet the needs of his community as a full-time member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, devotion to national development, as well as insightful contributions at the floor of the Senate would be fondly remembered and missed. Similarly, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, condoles with Senator Shinowa's family, friends, political associates, and the government and people of Lagos State over the loss. He said the pains of his death will be felt by the entire National Assembly as he prayed for the repose of his gentle soul and for God to grant those he left behind the fortitude to bear the loss. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress APC mourns the passing of the lawmaker whom his constituents describes as a Democrat. Though his tenure in the Senate was brief, the party appreciates the loyalty of Senator Shinowa to the cause of the APC-led government and pray that the Almighty God grants the deceased peaceful and eternal rest. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari joins the Nigerian Medical Association and the Bauchi State government in mourning Dr. Bello Katagum, who founded the NNAEMEKA Consultant Clinic and had remained a strong pillar of health management in the country. President Buhari believes the contributions of the medical doctor will be remembered for by posterity, particularly his personal attributes of kindness, warmth and charity, which was used extensively to support his election 2015 and the re-election 2019. And President Buhari also sent condolences to the government and people of Delta State over the passing of former Federal Commissioner for Works, Major General Oho Esio Obada. President Buhari notes with sadness that the former acting chief of air staff served in many strategic positions in the military, and his wealth of experience had been helpful to the country for many years after his retirement. The president prays for an eternal rest to the departed. And that's NTA Network News tonight. Thanks indeed for watching. My name is Nigerian Abodike. Do have a good night.